How you going, guys? Curtis from Cutting Edge Engineering. So today we're going to get on to line boring the main articulation point for the rear end of the crane. But before we can line bore it, I need to weld in the articulation plate. So we're going to get started on that. So to weld this out, I'm going to be using Verticore 3XP in a 1.2. It is a perfect wire for doing anything overhead, and it is an all positional wire. So I'm going to be running that at about 25 volts and 6 meters of wire a minute. And I'm going to be backing that up with Argo Shield Heavy, which is 80% argon, 20% CO2. And I know there were a few viewers concerned on how I was going to get in there and weld that plate back in position because of the tight access. And what I'm going to be using is my extended gooseneck on my handpiece, which is about double the length of a standard one and allows me to get into those hard to reach places. And what I'll be doing is a triple run double layer. So I'll lay one pass right in the joint and then two to cap it off. And after every pass, I'm going to use my needle gun to remove the flux or the slag, because you need to get that out of the way so you can put down the next weld. Now we've got that fully welded out, I need to let that cool down before I can set up the line borer. While we're waiting for that to cool off, there are a few little bits and pieces I've been putting off that I'm going to get onto. And what we're going to get started with is removing the rest of the lower trailing arms that we had to cut off when we removed the diff. So there were a few people who commented, why didn't we just unbolt them in the beginning when we were pulling the diffs out? And the reason for that is rust. We were never going to be able to make them work ever again, and they are very cheap. They're only about $50 each. So it worked out quicker, easier and cheaper to just cut them out and replace them. Spin in the bush.
Hi.
So the problem I knew we were going to have is the bolt is seized into the inner sleeve of the rubber bush. So what I'm going to have to do is cut the bolt either side of the bush so we can remove them. So with those out of the way, there's just a few little brackets I need to remove from the engine bay. These were originally used for holding hydraulic pipes. We're not going to need them because we are going to replace them with the correct clamps. I'm also cutting off these two nuts. They were used to hold the cable for the valve to drain the water out of the air tank. I don't want two nuts hanging off the back of my crane, so we're going to use something else. I'm also going to remove the spherical bearings that the steering cylinder is attached to because they are quite worn out and cheap enough to just replace.
Yeah.
Kept getting the plate.
Run.
So with all that out of the way, our plate has cooled down enough now. We're going to set up our line borer. And to get this in alignment, we're going to be using our centering cones, and we're going to be using the top plate and the bottom bearing position because we know that is perfect alignment. Because the finished size of these hole positions is 52mm, we're going to be using our WS1 because it has a 35mm bar, and that will give us a lot more room around the bar to make tool adjustments. So we've got all that set up, and you can actually see that the hole in the new plate is not in the center of the bar, but we were expecting it not to be perfectly centered. That's why we're line boring it. But something else I'm also going to do, because I have the line borer set up here and I did notice there was a little bit of porosity in the top hole position, I'm going to bore that out and weld it up before boring both positions, and that way I know there won't be any porosity there and both those holes will be in perfect alignment. So with that bored out, we just need to weld it up. I'm not going to go and set up the welding lance for this because it will take longer to set that up than it will be to weld this hole by hand. To weld this bore, I'm going to be using ER70S6 in a 0.9, and I'm going to be backing that up with Argo Shield Universal.
Aww. We're gonna put chicken.
Now that we've got that welded up and we've given it enough time to cool down, we're going to start boring it out to size. So I've taken 2 roughing cuts and I've now taken a measurement using my spring calipers, and it's measuring 50.26 mil, which means we've got 1.74 mil to remove, which is 0.87 per side. So I'm going to set up my dial indicator and advance the tool. So that's our boards machined to size. Now I'm just going to cut the faces on the top hole to clean up that excess weld. So that's all the boring completed. Now I can disassemble the line borer, remove the bearing mount and grind down the tacks. Righto guys, so I'm really happy we decided to replace that articulation plate. It looks a million times better. We've got it bored to size and in perfect alignment. So that's one more job ticked off the list. Thanks for watching. So I'm going to be running that at about 25 volt. So that's our bore machine to size. Now I'm just going to cut the faces on the top and... So that's our bores machine to size. Now I'm just going to cut the faces on the top and the bottom of the top hole. So that's all the line boring done, so now we'll break it down. And of course it's too no. Very uncomfortable.
Someone welded end mounts in the way.
Can you, on the wire feeder, press the latch button till it lights up? Wire feeder. Just press it once. Yeah.
Press it till it lights up.
Yeah, press it once. Some idiot welded fucking things in the way here.
Poor chicken. Go! Where is he? Get it! Wait, where's your chicken? Amy! Where's your chicken? What about that? Wait, what's that? Oh, poor chicken. Alright, go find it.